President-elect Donald Trump is demanding that the Biden administration quit liquidating unused portions of the border wall now. Trump is adamant those pieces of the wall will go to use, and he argues that the last-second fire sale could be illegal.
We spent a tremendous amount of money on building the wall, and now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall, and we can't let this take place. Now we're going to go. I spoke with the Attorney General of Texas. I spoke to the senators of Texas. I spoke to a lot of people, and hopefully they'll be able to stop. We're going to be, having a restraining order. But just think about how ridiculous it is. And this is just people that don't want this country to succeed. And this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has to do with common sense. We won on common sense, and this is maybe one of the most egregious examples I've seen. So I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall.
Okay, I want to talk about the timing of what President-elect Trump is saying. It's important. Now, he's talking about doing, orders against moving that material, orders against doing that state by state. But if you're going to do it at a top-down level, and you might want to do that to protect it from Biden's administration, you'd need to get it. Congressman Lawler of Rockland, New York, told me this yesterday. You'd need to get it in that CR. As of yesterday, it still wasn't turned in. Like, that's the homework that the Hill hasn't done yet, the spending. So what's your take on this? What does it take?
I don't think he's going to be able to get rid of the wall as fast as he wants to. And I think this is I really do. I think Biden, this is just a simple screw you to the American people. You're asking them to waste their tax dollars on a project that you know is going to happen and that the American people just voted for. It's such just disdain for the American people coming from this White House in its final days, because they're saying, I know you didn't vote for us, and I know you voted for a wall, but I want to stick it to you and cost you tens of millions of dollars.
Why?
Because it's just, you're beneath us. We don't respect you. We don't respect the American people. We don't respect the outcome of the election. And we just want to stick it to Donald Trump as he's walking in. This is the same guy that said, by the way, we want a smooth transition. And I laughed when Joe Biden said it publicly, because I knew that was a lie. But I think what you'll see now is you'll see Senator Cruz, Cornyn, other congressmen, they're getting together. You look at the AG in Texas, the governor in Texas are saying, we're not going to let this happen. Other governors will step forward, and they're going to be able to, I think, really fight back hard. And there's a mandate to do it.
Yeah. Right. And Lawler said if you can get it in the CR.
Get it in the CR.
They have to vote on it on Thursday. But you have a window of time.
The American people have to call Washington. I rarely say it works, but you better call your congressman, you better call your senator today, tomorrow, and tell them, I voted for this wall. Do not sell it and charge me double.
Yeah. So, Lisa, what's the point of first not protecting us from the criminals coming across the border and letting them just fan out across the country and be wherever they want, and now making us pay double to make protection happen? Like, what is Biden, and maybe he's not sentient enough to know what's happening. What's the goal here?
Well, Democrats don't believe in American sovereignty.
Bingo.
And that's what the border wall fight was all about. I've been thinking about this recently. It was never about the physical barrier of a wall. It was an argument over sovereignty, an argument over borders. And Democrats do not believe in borders. We've witnessed this over the past 4 years as Joe Biden has let millions and millions of illegal aliens into the United States from all over the world. They don't believe in sovereignty. So that's what the fight was about. And Donald Trump was right when we just heard him say that common sense won out this past election cycle. Thank God we'll see a restoration of common sense in America for the next 4 years. This is also just sabotage from a bitter Biden. That should be his new nickname. He's bitter because Donald Trump defeated him, and then his own party gave him the boot at the 11th hour on the way out. So he's trying to sabotage him on the border. He's trying to sabotage him on trade as well. The Wall Street Journal editorial talked about how he's trying to rewrite trade, remove protections for U.S. investors in Mexico, in Canada as well. And he's also trying to sabotage him in Ukraine as well with the authorization of those long-range missiles. So bitter Biden is trying to sabotage Donald Trump. He does not believe in borders, but thank God common sense won out.
So I want to hear now from Republican Senator Tom Cotton. This was yesterday.
The Biden administration has had many of these border wall materials going back to the Trump administration. We don't want to see them rush to sell those materials if, as we all anticipate, the Trump administration is going to be using them. We'd be selling them for just pennies on the dollar. We want them to actually explain what their next steps are and why they may be going forward with these sales. And if they're unreasonable sales, we want to stop that so the Trump administration can save the taxpayer dollar and what we anticipate will be finishing the border wall.
So, Ben, you were absolutely correct. But speed is important here.
Yeah, and I think so much could be said about the border wall and Donald Trump in general. I mean, just think back to when he started his political career, and he was openly mocked for suggesting a border wall was a good idea, like it was a cartoonish idea. And now that we know what happens when there are gaps in it, to sell off border wall material that the American people have already purchased with their hard-earned taxpayer dollars, and to only have to repurchase it again should infuriate every single one of us. And I think that this has been happening for years now. The first year that Joe Biden was in office, the border wall materials, and it's not just the beams, it's also sensors, it's lights, it's materials to build the border wall. They just sat idle, and he's been slowly selling off border wall material piece by piece. But I think it's even more egregious after the presidential election, because the American people have spoken. They say that they do want strong borders. So to continue selling this material, even though we have all said that this is something we want, I think is ridiculous.
You know, I said last hour something, Emily, about some of these materials sitting out and how not all of them were meant to sit in the weather the way that they have. They were meant to be used and constructed in a way where they stay preserved just in what they make with them. This is such a slap in the face from Biden. Bitter Biden, as you called him, on the way out the
bitter
door.
Biden. I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly that this is just one more emblematic feature of the Biden administration. They've been hallmarked by spite. We know this. That's
disdain.
That's why they've dug in to their talking points, to their ideology, when the entire majority of America was clamoring out in pain and suffering and fear and anguish, saying, please help us by changing the laws somehow, by enforcing the laws, right? And remember, they just dug in. And all of this to spite. I mean, no fury like a woman scorned. Well, no fury like Joe Biden scorned. Removed from his throne, shoved to the corner, and then Kamala doesn't do. I mean, I think all of them are simply furious. And I think most importantly, they are just dwelling in spite. I will say that courts are really loath to undo contracts. The Department of Defense maintains that these materials were already sold to the auctioneer. And it's really difficult to overcome a contract that has been effectuated, a sale that has been effectuated.
Well, we need to see the receipts on that.
But here, what I was going to say is that the overwhelming presumption that for the transition, the lawful and constitutional transition of government, that the will of the people reflected in such for this wall, that I think if anything, we know that the courts have been on Trump's side throughout the past 4 years, these 4 years, and the next. But I think here, if anything, it might be a high bar to overcome. Should that be true, that it is indeed in the past? But I do have faith the court would indeed side with President Trump on this for that reason. That if they're simply buying it back, the doubling up, like all of that.
You just brought up a really interesting and important point, because you're talking about the contracts already there. I was in D.C. last week, and I was talking to several members of Congress. And they all said, we have the precedent for this to be under national security, under DOD issues, under terrorism issues, because all of those issues are affected at the southern border. So there's a precedent here to be able to make multiple legal arguments to say this is about national security, and that can help tremendously.
I think that if they were already gone, Trump would not be trying to stop the sale of them. I'm going to trust that he's got the right information on the bulk of it. What we were just watching, by the way, broke during the last hour, and now we have more of those live pics of Red Rock, Arizona. It's important because that's the largest amount of these materials in one location. And as Emily just pointed out, they are waiting for that auctioneer. They're waiting for that process to go through, so they've put them all in one location so they can sell it. I mean, that's got to cost a lot of money, too. They like to spend our money.
Those should be all over this.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.